Hi everybody, welcome back. It's good to be with you all again. So today I wanted to talk about a list of books that I wanted to, and scriptures that I wanted to get through that all relate to the end of the age and the fig tree generation. I kindly received a list from Zen Garcia. He put it on his latest video on his YouTube channel. It's about an hour and 20 minutes in that he reads the list, but I have read some of them already, but there are some that I haven't read as well, and I just really wanted to read some of them. So today I wanted to start with the 14th vision of Daniel, and I did make a couple of notes as well, but I'll just read it first, so hopefully I'll be able to get it all out in this one video, and if I've got time I'll read the notes after. If not, then I'll just do another video to put the notes out. So yeah, I'll just read this now, and I'll read this first bit hereafter. There are notes at the end, condensed footnotes, but what I gathered from these is it's basically saying here none of the dates given are exact, they're pure imagination. You know, I gather that they have disbelief, and they're saying that the timescales lead up to, at the end it says here, Genghis Khan and his son and his grandson, all three of them shocking the world with a formidable invasion, basically. So it says. Anyway, let's crack on with the book. Excuse me. In the third year of Cyrus the Persian, who captured Babylon, a word was revealed to Daniel, whose name is Balthasar. This word is true. I, Daniel, fasted for 21 days until the evening. I had not eaten meat, I had not drunk wine, I had not anointed myself with oil. It happened, as I was on the bank of the Tigris, that this was revealed to me. I looked, and 4 winds of heaven were blowing towards the great sea. I saw 4 very frightening animals rising from the river. The first animal resembled a bear, having wings like an eagle. I saw as I waited that it flew with its wings. A human heart was given to it, and it stood on its feet. The second animal resembled human flesh, excessively horrible. It stood to one side. I watched until 3/4 of its face were broken, and the 4th quarter remained firm. I looked until its teeth were torn out of its mouth. The third animal resembled a panther. It had wings, 4 heads, devouring with speed and scattering what remained. The 4th animal which I saw resembled a lion, an animal which more terrible than all the animals which I had seen before it. Power and great force were given to it. Its hands were of iron, its nails of bronze, devouring, chewing, crushing with its feet what remained. I saw 10 horns which came out of its head. I saw another small horn which came out beside these 10 horns. And great power and remarkable form was given to it. I saw 4 different horns which arose on its left, then 4 other horns arose after these. Each of them was different from all the others, and between them all they made 19 horns. And I heard a voice which said to me, Daniel, do you understand what you saw? And I said, how can I understand if nobody guides me? I looked, and I saw an angel of God standing on my right. Its wings were extremely bright. I was afraid, and I fell to the ground. The angel seized me, made me stand on my feet, and said to me, stand on your feet, so that I can proclaim to you what will happen in the last days. The 4 animals which you saw are the 4 kingdoms. The animal that you saw similar to a bear is the king of Persia. He will possess the land for 555 years. Then he will perish with his kingdom. He will not be powerful always. The second animal that you saw, similar to human flesh, is the king of the Romans. He will seize the land as if by iron. He will extend himself over it. He will dominate by his armies as far as the land of Ethiopians, and he will reign over it 911 years. But he will not possess the capital of the kingdom until many days are completed. The third animal which you saw, who resembled a panther, is the king of Greeks. He will reign over it for 1,000 years and 30 days, but his reign will not last. The fourth animal which you saw, who resembles a lion, is the king of the sons of Ishmael. He will reign for a long time over the land, and will be very powerful during many days. This realm will be of the race of Abraham, and of the slave of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. And the cities, all the cities of the Persians, the Romans, and the Greeks will be destroyed. 19 kings of this race amongst the sons of Ishmael will reign over the land. They will reign until the time of their end. The 10th of their kings will be like a prophet. The number of his name is 399. He will practice justice, will give bread to the famished, clothing to those that are naked. He will free those who are slaves. His mercy will spread over the whole land, and his justice up to heaven. The 11th of their kings will practice iniquity over all the land. He will ruin the old works. He will persecute those which are on the land, so that nobody is found who lives there or remains there. All men will groan for 42 months. If the God of heaven treats him with indulgence, his reign will last 40 months. The reign of the 12th of their kings will consequently be strengthened by the judgments of his mouth. He will carry out malicious actions in the land, so that men will be astonished by what he did. There will be many wars during this reign. At the end of the time, a king will thoroughly disturb the kingdom of Ishmaelites for 147 years. In the 110th year of his reign, he will have a war with the Ethiopians. The Ishmaelites will reign over them until they have despoiled the city of the kingdom, which is Suban. They will send messengers to ask for peace. They will give them money and gold in great quantity. A tribute will be paid to them in Ethiopia. The 13th of them will not live in his kingdom at all. They will not fear him. His reign will be of a few days. The 14th of their kings will receive gold and money in great quantity, and he will judge the land with equity. He will engage in war with Lower Egypt, so that Egypt is in sorrow and groaning. The Ethiopians will not be subjected to him at all. They will not pay him tribute. In those days there will be war in the land of the Romans. The Ethiopians will make war with the southernmost regions of Egypt. They will plunder the boroughs and all the cities of Lower Egypt until they arrive at the town of Cleopatra that she had built herself in Upper Egypt, which is Shimon. After these things, the king of Syria will learn of it. He will fear the end because the war is approaching him. In the end, his reign will be established, and he will enjoy a happy existence. Then a child will arise amongst the Israelites. He will rise. This is the 15th of their kings. In his heart he will be hard like iron. He will extend his sword to the Romans. His right hand will be on the Ethiopians. His face will be double, equals cheating, and his language will be double, equals crafty. During the days of his reign there will be great disorder over all the land, and his word will be violent like fire. The Ethiopians will bring gifts of gold to him, of silver, of pearls. He will impose his work on everyone. He will make several nations captive in order to conscript them throughout all his reign. There will not be enough bread. There will be no peace as long as he will reign, and in his time carnage will be frequent. As for the 16th of their kings, there will be no war in his kingdom, and he himself will not fight with anybody, and he will be granted a long time, which he will spend in peace, and his reign will pass in uprightness. As regards to the 17th of their kings, a war will break out between him and his nation. It is him who the name makes the number 666. He will elevate from his nation a man who will make war for him. He will pursue him as far as Egypt with the riches of his kingdom. He will neglect his nation and its great people, and will scatter the riches in public places and highways. While moving in Lower Egypt with his riches, he will go to Upper Egypt on the north side, with the intention to plunder Suban, the city of the Ethiopians, with the remainder of its riches. But a man of his own nation will kill him in the southernmost regions of Lower Egypt, and will take what remains to him of his riches. The 18th of their kings, at the beginning of his reign, will work great evils. For 1,260 days he will wage war in the western countries, and he will gain the victory until the day of his death. Then among them a child will arise, who is his son. This one is the 19th of their kings. He will be the child of a double race, because his father is an Israelite and his mother is a Roman. There will be war in Egypt and Syria for 21 months. Their sword will fall on themselves in this war. This is the king whose name makes the number 666. He will be called by these three names: Mamitos, Kale, and Sarippidos. Being a child, he will reign in order to do much evil. He will order all the Jews which are in all places to gather in Jerusalem. All the land will be disturbed during his reign, until man can be sold for a single dinar. He is without decency and will forget the fear of God. He will not remember the law of Ishmael his father, nor of his mother who is Roman. He will be arrogant, continuously drunk. He will make a great number of those who eat at his table die by poisoned beverages. And in these days there will be great devastations. He will free Syria and the territory of Jews, and will torment the east and Egypt. He will establish carriers of letters in Egypt. 2 and 3 times in only 1 year, the east will be against itself in this reign, which will be the 19th. He will seek neither justice nor truth, but he will seek gold all the time. He will establish managers in all regions of Africa, and a great quantity of soldiers. War will break out between him and them. They will destroy the multitude which is with him. He will be established in the regions of Africa, with what will remain of his troops, for several years, and he will not overcome Africa. Then a foreign nation will arise against him. It is called Pitorgus the Turk. It will make war on him. Sarippidos will dominate over many Romans, over Pentapolis, over the Medes, and over all who will take tribute, will command their cities, and will plunder the city which he built, and regions that his father had gathered. The Turk will prepare for war to remove the kingdom from the hands of Sarippidos. Hitherto Sarippidos remained at home. He was looking for spoils, because Sarippidos had great riches before his eyes: gold, silver, all kinds of precious stones, and desirable utensils of every kind. But it will be proclaimed to him that the Turk has made himself master of all Syria and his borders, and he will go out in great disorder with all his troops. They will leave all the waterskins, will not carry anything with him, but he will have the heart of an animal, reflecting and knowing not what to do. Then, when he flees, going up Egypt, the Turk will precede him with his troops. They will both land with their troops. They will fight until blood runs in floods. The Turk is of Roman race. There will be war in Eshmon, the city, until the water of the river is changed into blood, because the great quantity of those wounded to death. No one will be able to drink the water anymore. Many men will die by the sword, uncountable. Those who remain will plunder their own city from where they left. The Turk will make Sarippidos perish, in order to remove his kingdom from him, for fear he will not obtain the kingdom of the Ishmaelites. But this is here where the end of their number is. Then the king of the Romans will rise up against them. He will destroy them by the edge of the sword in the middle of the Ishmaelites, in the territory of their fathers in the desert. The Ishmaelites will be governed always by the Romans. The Romans will dominate over Egypt for 40 years. Then 2 nations will rise, by the name of Gog and Magog. They will shake the ground for several days. Their number is as great as the grains of sand. Then Antichrist will appear, who will deceive many of them. When he is strengthened, he will seduce even the elect. He will kill the 2 prophets, Enoch and Elias, so that for 3.5 days they will be dead in the public places of the great town of Jerusalem. Then the Ancient of Days will bring them back to life. It is he whom I see coming in the clouds from heaven, similar to the Son of Man. His power is an eternal power, and his reign will have no end. It is he which will put Antichrist to death, and all the multitude which is with him. There will be misfortune then, in truth, to any soul who will live in that time over all the land, because there will be iniquity, a great affliction, and groanings. But the salvation of man is between the hands of God in heaven. This is the end of his speech. The angel said to me, Daniel, Daniel, conceal these discourses, seal them up until the time when they will be fulfilled, because that is the end of all. I, Daniel, I arose, I put a seal on the discourse and sealed them. I will glorify God, the Father of all things and the Lord of the universe, he who knows the dates and times. To him be glory and power forever. Amen. So that's the 14th vision of Daniel, and it's really interesting. I noticed when I was reading it that there was dates and time scales on it, so I just wrote them down for now, and I'm going to collect them up as I go through others and try and put them all together. But what I gathered from this one, I don't know if you can see that, it's still quite dark because it's early. So I've got Daniel lived between 620 BC and 538 BC. It mentioned that the king of Persia ruled for 555 years, so it could have been around the time that Daniel was alive. Maybe the king of Persia, the kings of Persia were ruling before Daniel was born. I'm not sure, or whatever, but you could imagine that roughly, if he was writing these prophecies around 555 BC, then roughly the year 0 is when Persia ended. I'm not saying that is the year, but roughly, very roughly. Then it was said that the Romans ruled 911 years, and then the Greeks for 1,000 years and 30 days. I thought that it was the other way around. So I thought the Greeks were ruling before the Romans, but what do I know? But then also it mentions that the 4th beast was Ishmael and his seeds ruling for a very long time without actually giving a length in years, but giving a rough description of each king between the 10th and the 19th king. And some of them had timescales on them. Some of them were kings that were made kings from as a child, or grew up before they became kings, so it was difficult to kind of put a time scale on each of them. But the times it did give, it gave a total of 2,466 years plus a long time. So when I read that, I looked for the last king of Persia, and I found that according to Google, it was Darius III, from 336 to 300 BC. And so if we're looking at these numbers being so, then the king of Persia, the last king of Persia, was 300 BC. And then the last emperor of Rome was Romulus Augustus, and that was at 476 AD apparently, which is around 776 years after the king of Persia. So that would be about 140 years off according to Google. And then it says about the Greeks for 1,000 years, which, like I said before, I'm still quite confused about. There was another thing I noticed in the scriptures. It did talk about, in verse 16, a king living for over 100 years, ruling for over 106. The reign of the 12th of their kings will consequently be strengthened by the judgments of his mouth. He will carry out malicious actions of the land so far that men will be astonished by what he said. There will be many wars during his reign. At the end of the time, the king will be thoroughly disturb his kingdom. He will thoroughly disturb the kingdom of the Ishmaelites for 147 years, in the 110th year of his reign. Wow, how old is he? So that is the book of Daniel. While I've still got a bit of time, might as well mention this as well. Because it said at the top here, there are at least 9 texts calling themselves the Apocalypse of Daniel, and this is written in Coptic dates, Crusader period. This one was released in like 1700. I went looking to see if I could try and maybe find one of the other ones to see if there's any difference that's noticeable. And what I did find is Isaac Newton also wrote a book on the 14th vision of Daniel, and the book I read in my last video as well, which was the chronologies, that was also written by Isaac Newton. And yeah, it seems like, although he's famous nowadays, I can't even speak properly. You know, he's famous nowadays for gravity and the apple on the head. In his own days, I'm pretty sure that is not what he was known for. He was, I don't know, a philosopher or something, or a religious researcher. But yeah, I'll leave the links to the 14th vision of Daniel and this book. I haven't actually read this, I've only just found it before this video started, but I probably will give it a read. I'm sure it's going to be interesting nonetheless, but yeah, I'll have to give it a read. So yeah, that's the first book of the list that I wanted to read out of scriptures regarding the end times and the fig tree generation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Take care, God bless.